Welcome, everyone. This is Jill Hope, and you are listening to the next episode of Women with Wealth. I am so excited to be here with you today. I am having so much fun making these videos for you on this topic around helping you to see how you're getting in your own way, helping you become aware of things that may be going on in the background for you that you're not actually aware of currently, so that you can start to make some shifts that will open things up for you and help you step more fully into living the vision that you desire to live in your life. And in this episode today, what I want to focus on is this idea of how to use this power that we all have, which is our intuition, how to really use that power to allow you to step more fully into what it is that you want, to allow you to aid in the creation of that thing that you're looking to do, to be, or to have in your world. And this is something that I have really wrestled with a lot. And, what I like to talk about in these calls in the Women with Wealth series is kind of a combination of things that I've been struggling with, things that I have already worked through, challenges that I've overcome, things I see coming up in coaching calls that I'm doing in my weekly coaching calls with clients, and just those areas where they're commonalities, they're problems that a lot of us face when we are actually on the path of creating a bigger life, of creating a life that is much more abundant, feels much more in flow, is much more aligned with the vision of who we know that we really are, that maybe we're not being right now. I mean, only you know if you're playing small in your life and if you're settling for a life that is less than the life you really desire. And I have a feeling that if you are someone who is kind of feeling that way, or maybe it's showing up for you that it just looks like you don't ever quite get there, whatever wherever there is, then this video is for you. In fact, this whole series is for you. And actually, before we move into this topic of intuition, I want to invite you to think right now about one person in your life. It could be a colleague, it could be a close friend, it could be a family member, it could be a neighbor, but someone who you know, who's trying, who's been working at this, who's been trying to grow something, to build something, to create something. Someone who has a big dream and maybe they're just not getting there, or they're just not seeing the progress they want. And invite them to show up for these calls. Invite them to listen to the recordings, whatever it takes. All you need to do is send them the link ishinewealth.com/women. ishinewealth.com/women. Just send them that link. They will thank you for it. It may open up something for them that it never occurred to them before, and change their world. So please think of that person. Who is that person in your life? And invite them to join us for these calls. Okay, well, let's get into our topic today, episode 3, all about the role of intuition in creating the life that you want. Now, a lot of people really struggle with hearing their intuitive voice, or with not being sure, what is my intuitive voice? Well, what does it look like? What will it sound like? How will I know it's my intuition and not my ego? And that's a really great question. And I have literally had these exact questions myself, which is probably why it was easy for me to come up with them. But if you're in that place of wondering, or if maybe it's that you have sort of spent time asking for guidance and you've received some stuff, but you still don't fully trust it, then that's what I want to talk about today. The other side of this whole topic that we're talking about, and it's really not the other side because it's really the whole thing, and where the role of intuition fits into it all, is that when you are trying to create something that you want, you've got a vision, you know what you want, and you're taking steps, you're moving forward. When you're in that place of feeling it, of knowing it, and of wanting it, we create it with a specific type of energy. It's an energy that we are all using all the time. You can't really, you can ignore it, you cannot activate it as much. in your life, but it's always there. It's an energy that makes us up, right? It helps us in our being, a human being. And the energies, there's two of them. One is our divine masculine energy. And the divine masculine energy is that energy that is the driving energy. It's the going after it. It's the action taking. It's the doing. It's the controlling. It's the figuring out kind of energy. You probably know people, if you think about this, who are actually in that energy all the time, right? Those people come to mind, and that person could be you. And then the other energy that we is there, and sometimes we're fully in it, and sometimes we're not, is our divine feminine energy. And that's the energy more of the receiving, the kind of sitting back and allowing, the nurturing energy. It's the intuitive energy. That's our divine feminine energy. And like I said, we have access to both of these energies. And together, they allow us to step into the fullness, the full potential of who we really are. Now, what I have seen in my experience is that most people are not fully and effectively balancing those two energies in a way that's actually going to allow them to step into their greatest potential and create that big vision that is really aligned with their highest potential. I mean, think about this for a minute. If you're having a vision of something really spectacular and really great, first of all, that vision, it's number one, it's possible for you. Number two, if you can conceive of it now, it's ready to manifest right now, which is really exciting. It means that all the things that you need to be able to create that now are here now. Otherwise, you couldn't conceive of it. It's in your energy field right now. Okay. So when you have that vision, the, the other thing to realize, and I'm not sure I've ever said this even out loud to myself, is that that vision is a match to a much higher potential in you than you are currently expressing in your life. I find that to be a very exciting idea because we want to step into that higher potential for us. I mean, there's nothing that feels worse than realizing that you've got a lot of potential and you never step into it, right? I believe that when we feel a desire, that's the call of our higher self. That's kind of the goal to rise into so that you can actually express your higher potential that you want to express. So I really see it as an opportunity. I strongly believe that we should never ignore our higher self desires, those desires that come from our soul and speak to us. And one of the ways they speak to us is through our intuition. So if you're not listening, if you're not allowing that to be a part of your creation process, if you are a person that you get an idea, you have a goal, and then you are that hard driving, that type A person, anyone like that? That would be me. Uh, that was me I mean, I still have to sort of tone that down because that's very much how I do pretty much everything is like, let's get it done. Let's do it. I don't sit still. I'm not somebody that sits down on the weekend and reads a book. I'm just not. I've got to feel like I'm making progress on stuff. I'm moving forward. Now, that's not to say I don't have fun. I absolutely do. But I'm learning that I need to schedule my fun and manage and balance, when I'm going to be having fun, when I'm going to be moving forward, and when I'm actually going to be tuning in. Okay, so there's the outward movements of the divine masculine, and then there's the inner tuning in and receiving of the divine feminine. So one of the things that I noticed is this was early in the days of my business, and I was very much a doer and still am. And I would be do, and go, go, go. And I was working like hard, right? Because when I started my business, I was actually doing it while I was still in my corporate job. And I had a 5-year-old. There was a lot going on. I didn't sleep much back then. But it was this, I had this vision, and it was like a must. I had to make it happen. So that's what I was doing. And I was making progress. I mean, I was definitely making progress. And I was definitely taking risks and doing things. And I mean, I pulled like some money out of this thing that I never wanted to touch. And I used the whole thing to invest in the first program that would teach me some of this stuff. Right. And I knew it was a huge risk because I had to trust myself that I was going to follow through. And so I was surely going to follow through, and I was doing all the stuff and taking all the action. And years later, that very first coach that I hired that taught me all that stuff, she ended up telling me, because I was in a group of either 20 or 24 women who had stepped in for this program. She said, you know, Jill, did you realize you are the only person in that group that ever did anything with it? Not even one other person did. So I was rocking out my divine masculine. I mean, I was doing it. But what I was noticing is I wasn't getting the results I wanted. I was doing all the things. I did everything anyone told me to do that was further than me in the process and was having success. And I was making money, but it was like I couldn't live on it. I couldn't quit my corporate job on it. It wasn't giving me the result that I wanted. And so I found myself thinking, well, I got to work harder. I better put more into it. I've got to really focus on it. You know, that's around the time when I ended up leaving my corporate job, because I thought, well, I'm too scattered. I need to focus. So if I leave the corporate job and take this risk and really focus, then quickly I'll get my business income up where it needs to be. So I did that, and I worked it, and I worked it hard. And like it went up. I mean, I think my income doubled or tripled or something like that. But it wasn't what I was expecting and what I really wanted. It wasn't funding all my dreams. Let's put it that way. And I was getting frustrated, and I was getting burnt out. And so I ended up realizing, I had this epiphany that when I discovered this whole thing about these different energies, that, oh, I am not even at all tapping into and making use of my divine feminine energy and this intuition thing. I need to do that. And it was then that I remembered that when I was a child, I actually prayed away my intuition. I literally, because I was having intuitive dreams as a very young child, and it scared me. I was dreaming things and then they were happening. And I would say these nightly prayers, and I started adding to my nightly prayer, please don't let me have any psychic dreams. And I said that prayer for probably until I was well into my 20s. No joke. I prayed away my psychic abilities and my intuitive connection. Now, you really can't get rid of it, but I wasn't putting any focus there. I wasn't making use of that ability, and we all have that ability. So when I realized this, I went fully onto the other side of like, well, that's just what I need to do then. I will, forget all this stuff. I've done all these strategies. They don't work. So I am just going to tune in, and I'm going to get my download. And then magically things are going to start to show up. This is what I really thought. So I started doing that. And I watched my income go down, down, down. So fortunately, I didn't do that too long because I was like running out of money, and I was starting to not be able to pay my bills. So then I thought, okay, and this is when I really had this realization that I'm talking about now. Topic of this episode here is that we need to find the perfect balance for us, and I believe that the balance is going to be different for everybody, and that you really kind of have to experiment with it. If you're all in on the masculine and you're taking all the action and you're jumping in no matter how scared you are, that's great. But if you're not tuning in and using your discernment and saying, is this aligned with who I am? Is this aligned with what I believe my mission is this how I am meant to show up for my people that I can support and help in this role that I'm playing? Is any is any of this, does any of it resonate with my higher self, with my heart, with my soul? And so that's when I started to do that. That is why we're doing these calls, actually. I mean, everything you've seen me do this, well, at least for this whole year, probably a little bit longer, actually. But everything you've seen me do, it's coming from, first I'm getting intuitive downloads, and then I'm taking action. Now, I'm not saying I have the perfect balance yet, but I'm much closer. I feel much more aligned with what I'm doing every single day. And I'm seeing results. I mean, my results have changed dramatically since I started to use both of these two things. Now, I want to share this story because as I was tapping in and receiving the information I wanted to talk about today, right away, it's a parable actually came to my mind, and it so beautifully illustrates what I'm talking about here. So it's the parable of this man who was caught in a flood, and the water was rising rapidly, and so he had to get actually onto the roof of his home. And he thought, well, I am going to look up to God and I'm going to ask God to save me. And I'm going to use my faith to know that God will save me. So this is being way on the divine feminine energy side of things. So he goes up on the roof, water's rising, and he's praying, God, please save me. I have faith that you will save me. Moments later, a rowboat comes by, and a man's in the rowboat, and he says, Sir, why don't you hop in? I can take you to safety. And the man says, No, that's okay. God's going to help me. I'm praying to God, and I have faith that he'll save me. So the man kind of shrugged his shoulders and rowed off. Water's continuing to rise, and now a motorboat comes by and says, Sir, right here, I can help you. And he's kind of got this urgency because he sees the water's really rising. And the man says, No, I don't need a ride from you. I have asked God to save me, and I trust that God will save me. So the man's like, Okay, and he drives off. Now the water is really high, and a helicopter comes by, and it says, he drops a rope, and he says, Hey, sir, why don't you climb this rope, and I will lift you off to safety. And the man says, Nope, I'm okay. I've asked God for help, and I know God's saving me. So very reluctantly, the helicopter flies off. The water continues to rise, and the man drowns. And he gets to heaven, and he says, God, I asked for help. I prayed to you. I trusted you. I had faith. Why didn't you rescue me? And God said to him, I sent a rowboat, I sent a motorboat, and I sent a helicopter to save you. You didn't take the opportunities that I gave to you. So this parable to me illustrates so perfectly this balance that we need to create between trusting our intuition, trusting our higher self, asking for the wisdom, but then taking the steps that come to us, looking for the opportunities that show up after we ask. Those two pieces, when you put them together, that is what moves you. That is what carries you forward. My mentor says it like this: God does not create chairs, he creates trees. So it's up to us to see the tree as the opportunity to create the chair. The perfect sort of balance, and this is what you need to play within yourself. But what I am seeing it to be in terms of the role of your intuition in building the vision that you have for yourself is that we need to tune in. We do need to connect. We need to ask. We need to tap into that higher wisdom. There is a vast amount of wisdom in our world, in the universe, and we all have access to it. Back in the caveman days, the wisdom and knowledge to create the iPhone existed, okay? It was out there in the ether. But until you have the desire to create that, you're not going, it's not going to be an idea in your mind. And, you know, the you're not actually going to be taking any steps to look for how to do that, how to create that. The opportunities won't be there because you haven't conceived of it in your vision and said yes to it, made that decision. Once you do, though, once you have a dream, have an idea, and you say yes to it, then you want to bring that intuition in, marry it with the action, with looking for the opportunities and saying yes to them. And when you do that consistently, you start to get the results that you want, the results that match your vision. Very, very important. We can't go too far in one direction or too far in the other. There's a balance, it's a dance between the two. And that's really what allows us to be whole within ourselves, to bring all of us to the process and rise. Most people, we walk around in our worlds and in our lives, and we're only being a part of who we really are. We're not being all of who we really are. So being able to really play with both of these energies and mix them in a way that is moving you together in a direction allows you as a being to be whole, to be all of you, to bring all of you into this beautiful vision that you've created. That is a match, is a vibrational match for the vision. That you probably haven't fully stepped into yet, but is available for you. That future you, that future abundant you. So along these lines, there was a time when I felt stuck. This was a few years ago. Didn't really know, what should my next move be? And I asked for a sign. I said, I want certainty. I want to know exactly what I should be focusing on next. That's what I asked. What should I be focusing on next? And I was about to go to the grocery store, but I was doing this little meditation and I was asking. So I was going into my feminine, my divine feminine, and I was opening up to my intuition and I was asking. And a lot of times I will get an immediate download when I ask that, but I didn't get anything. And I needed to get to the grocery store. There was like this urgency. I was running out of time that day and we needed something to cook that night and I needed to get on the ball. So I asked, I didn't spend a lot of time journaling or anything. So then I said, okay, I'm not hearing anything, but I put this intention out that I will leave the grocery store knowing where to put my focus. I will know what my next step is or what I need to be focusing on. And so I'm shopping through the grocery store and I get to the produce section and there's this woman who I used to work with her in corporate actually, so many years before this. And I don't see her very often. I see her maybe literally probably every like 3 years. It's very rare that I run into her anywhere. So when it happens, it always catches me off guard. And she's actually a very intuitive person as well. And so I was in the produce section and all of a sudden I hear this loud bellowing of my name. It is Jill, Jill. And that just doesn't usually happen to me at the grocery store. And it just was kind of shocking. Like it kind of jolted me. And then I see her run over and it's this woman. And she said, I saw you and I just had to run over because I wanted to tell you, I've just been thinking about you and I've been wondering about the book, the book, the book. And she said it 3 times just like that. And it was only then, I didn't even realize that I told her about my book. And it was only then that I remembered about a year prior, or maybe even longer, I had run into her on a walk in the neighborhood. And I was telling her that I was writing this book. So she remembered that. And so when she saw me, she was all like animated about, where am I with my book? Well, that was the message I needed because I couldn't not hear it, right? She was kind of just so loud and so in my face and the book, the book, the book. So I left the grocery store and I thought, okay, God, I got the message. Thank you. I need to focus on my book. So the next time I sat down and meditated, I was looking for the next step because I thought, okay, I need to focus on the book, but what does that mean? I just start writing it or like, where, because I was feeling resistance. So I'm like, where do I start? What do I do? And right when I said that to myself, I immediately saw, so this is another way I get intuitive information. Sometimes it comes through writing, and you're going to notice for yourself too. You may get intuitive information in a myriad of ways. I think most people do. There may be a dominant way that you get it, but it may come another way. So I sometimes will see a word, or like for pricing, when I price things, I'll just see a number flash in my mind, or it will come through as I'm writing. Like I won't hear words, but it's like suddenly I'm writing it out, or it'll come through as a knowing. So notice as you start to practice this how you get your intuitive information. That's just a side note. So so this time when I asked what's the next step with the book, I immediately saw a word, and it was big, and it was a location. It was a city. It was a city in the U.S. And it was a city that I never think about, would never be a place that I would say I want to go there. And I mean, nothing wrong with the city. I was there once in my life. It was lovely, beautiful actually, but just not my cup of tea. Not someone that I would ever seek out to go normally. And I'm like, why was that the answer when I asked what's the next step for my book? So I started to do some research. I started to look at the city a little more. I started looking at it. I thought, I feel like I have to go there. I think I'm supposed to go there. And I started, like, as I started having that thought, I felt it stronger and stronger. And I thought, I bet that's the problem. I need to go somewhere where I can just focus on the book. Because we have all kinds of distractions in our homes, right? You're in your usual environment. You've got your typical tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis just to keep your house moving, keep the people in it going, all that stuff. So I thought, oh, that I get it. I need to really be away. So there's no other distractions, and I just focus on my book. So I thought, okay. So I decided that I was going to go away for 4 days by myself, completely by myself, with no other agenda other than I'm just working on my book. So I booked a beautiful hotel. I mean, like stunningly amazing, amazing hotel, amazing area, beautiful views. I ended up getting a really good deal on a first class ticket because I thought, well, my gut was saying, book it, Jill. I think it was $200 more than a coach. I thought, I got to do it. It lit me up. I felt so excited. I thought, okay, I'm doing it. I'm going there. I'm going to go first class. I'm going to have a car pick me up at the airport, and I am writing this book, and I'm going to get it done in the 4 days. So that was my plan. So I get to this lovely place. And this is me really following my intuition and marrying both sides, right? I got the message, and then, okay, now I'm moving forward no matter what, even though it doesn't make sense. Like I still was kind of like, initially, I'm like, how does this make sense? I'm like, I'm going to trust it that I'll be able to write my book when I get there, right? Because I still was feeling resistance. So I go, and I get there in my room. Like I couldn't believe it was massive. And it had this balcony. I mean, massive, like it just wasn't like a normal hotel. I mean, it wasn't like massive, like it wasn't a suite, but it was a normal hotel room. It just was so much bigger than normal hotel rooms are. And it had this patio, that like decent sized patio. And it just was like, it was just lovely, like in every way. And I felt so inspired there. I'm like, this is way like 10 times better than I even thought it could be. And like, this is really great. And I felt this really, really strong nudge to make a video. Now, what you need to understand about the story is that at that time in my life, I had been getting the nudge to make videos for at least a year before that. And even my accountability partner would be like, when are you going to make that video, Jill? And I would never make a video. There was always something. My husband even went and bought me all my objections as to why. Well, I need a proper microphone, and I need a better camera, and I need, yada, yada, yada. He proceeded to like buy me all this stuff because he just would hear me complaining about it all the time, but not doing anything. And so when I was there, I couldn't not make a video. I was like over inspired, like it had to go somewhere. The inspiration needed to go somewhere. And it didn't want to go down into the book. For some reason, it wanted to make a video. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to fight this. I have to, if fighting it would have been me sitting down and saying, no, you need to write your book. So I was going with where I was really feeling lit up. Like, I got to make this video. So I made one video, and then I made another video, and another in different locations on this gorgeous property. I made 4 videos in 4 days. I couldn't get myself for the life of me to make a video, and I couldn't stop making them while I was there. And the interesting thing was, none of the videos had anything to do with the topic of my book. I mean, loosely, sure, but really, no, really not at all. They had much more to do with what I'm talking about and sharing now. And I didn't see it right away, and I'll tell you why. So, fast forward, I come home. I wrote in my book, but I didn't finish it. And I get home, and not a lot of people knew that I was doing this, but a few people did that were close to me. And so these people asked me, so, Jill, did you get your book done? And I had to say, I did not. And I felt so much shame, because I left my family for 4 or 5 days. I spent a lot of money to do this when I could have just written it at home. And I didn't even accomplish my goal, which was to finish it. Sure, I made significant progress, but significant progress and done are 2 totally different things. So I had a lot of shame. So I didn't connect because of the shame, because the shame would not let me see this at the time. I didn't connect that I was drawn to go there, because apparently that was going to be the place where I would be inspired enough to get off my resistance around making videos and talking about what I really wanted to talk about. So as I look back on this, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't see it at the time, but as I look back on this and stopped beating myself up about not getting the book done, and I actually looked at what this meant, because I was thinking, did my intuition serve me wrong when this girl said the book, and then I saw the name of the city I needed to go to, and then I went? Was my intuition steering me wrong? Because that's what one could think, right? You could think, oh, I can't trust myself. I can't trust my intuition. Maybe that was my ego talking because I wanted a vacation alone, right? So I had to look at that. And when I was able to get my shame about the book away, and I was able to stop beating myself up about that, I was able to clearly see that what I was really meant to do was to start talking about this new area I wanted to talk about, and to do it in the mode for now of making videos, of being in front of people, of being visible. Even when I would do my classes, it was all just audio. I wouldn't put myself on the screen, even way after other people had been doing it, for a couple of years. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And I wouldn't have gone there had my intuition said you need to start making videos. I just wasn't in a place where anything was going to get me to do it, So I know my intuition knew that. She's not going to do anything unless we say it's about the book. Let's get her on a plane. Let's make her think she's going to finish her book, and she'll be overcome by this urge to make the video. And I really believe that's what happened, because that's what set me on the path. Because after that, I was comfortable making videos, because I thought, oh, I mean, if I could make them there, surely I can make them at home too. And so I was willing to try. And also, I kind of got over the hurdle of, oh, well, I can talk about this other topic and it's okay. Nothing's going to explode if I talk about this. So all those things hit me when I allowed myself to get out of my own way. So all of that to say that, again, it's about allowing yourself to get the messages that your intuition is trying to give you, to spend time there, and to then take the action. And it may not match. You may hear something like when I saw that word about going to that city, and I just knew then that I needed to be there. It may not make sense to you, but if you trust it, it will always be the right thing. If you're willing to take that step, it will always be the right thing. The only way you will know, though, this is like the big, I really want you to hear this. The only way you will know and really start to grow in your confidence around using your intuition and mixing it with the action taking, the only way you'll know is if you follow it, if you take those steps. You've got to trust enough to say yes to what you're getting and trust it and try it. And then document your results, track it, because you may not get it in the moment, like I didn't see, and I instead had a bunch of shame. But then when you can go back to it later and say, well, wait a minute, now that I'm 2 years on or whatever, as I look back on this, I realize, oh, this couldn't have happened if that didn't happen, and that couldn't have happened if that didn't happen. And it all started when I paid attention to my higher self, when I listened to that intuition, that wisdom, and I stepped into it. Listen and move towards it. Listen and move into it. It's that dance of both. And it's what allows you to step into where you need to be and be that person that has that vision. So ask yourself a couple of questions. And we're going to wrap up here. Some of you, because obviously not everyone's like me, right? Not everyone's going to be the type A, hard driving, left brain, like go person. And I know some of you who are the opposite, okay? I know some of you who are I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to dream it, and I'm going to allow it, and I'm going to be in my feminine energy, and I'm going to look at the signs, and I'll just know, and I'll and it's very kind of, and when I say this, please don't take this wrong, because I tried that side too, but I'm going to say it. It's kind of airy fairy, right? There's not a lot of I'm not devaluing it, please. I'm not at all devaluing it. But if that's all you do, and you justify yourself in not taking action because I just wasn't feeling it, don't go there, because you're doing a huge disservice to yourself. That's the airy fairy part, is you come up with these ideas in your mind then that keep you from actually taking the action that you need to take. Okay, so you want to bring it together into this beautiful sculpture of your vision. Like, this is how you get there. It's both sides coming together. Okay, so I know people who lean on the one way, the masculine, and I know people who lean on the feminine, and I lean on the masculine, and I have tried to go here too, and they don't work on their own. So wherever you're at, here are some questions to ask yourself. Number one, where am I ignoring the power of my divine masculine in the creation of what I want? Meaning, where am I not taking action when I should be? Because at the end of the day, the results come from actions, from a cause. A cause set in motion creates an effect. That's one of the laws of the universe, the law of cause and effect. There must be a cause that kicks off a result. So we're spiritual beings, but we're living here in this physical world. So there is an element of having to take physical actions. It's what was the message in that parable. God can only do so much. You've got to actually take the action. God can give you the opportunities. You've got to step into the action. You've got to see the opportunity, number one, and you need to step into the action. So where are you ignoring that divine masculine, that action-taking part of the whole equation of living into your vision? Number one. Number two, where am I ignoring the power of my divine feminine in the creation of what I want? Where am I not stopping and tuning in and asking for that higher wisdom that I'm always connected with, and that has the answer to the iPhone gazillions of years before anyone invented it? Where am I not allowing myself to do that? And for me personally, I was in massive resistance about sitting down and tuning in. I think I probably spent, I would say, a good 2 years being aware that I needed to do this and not doing it for 2 years, maybe longer. I would think, oh, I need to sit down. Nope, I got to answer these emails. I was always back in the action. So see, where are you ignoring that power of the divine feminine in your life? And where are you ignoring that power of the divine masculine in your life? And then lastly, how can you honor the divine masculine and the divine feminine as you create your vision of what you want? What would that look like for you if you really honored both of those sides that are very much you in your wholeness? So ask yourself those questions. Spend a moment with yourself asking and seeing where you need to make changes. And maybe right as I'm saying this, maybe it's coming to you that, oh, yeah, I need to start doing that, or I need to start doing that. Write that down and make it a point to make this shift. Remember, we talked about in one of the previous videos, little tiny shifts create huge results. What little tiny shift could you make as a result of what I'm sharing today that might be the key to creating the big result that you want? Okay, so that's the message today. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope it gave you some insight into maybe where you can make some shifts for yourself. And I look forward to talking to you next week. I think we'll be back on Wednesday next week. We might still be on Tuesday. I will confirm that with all of you. And I want to give you a heads up about something. I'm super excited about this. I want to share it. Now you will be seeing stuff coming for me in writing about this as well, but I want to share it here too. I am going to be doing a money retreat on April 17th. That's a Saturday. I'm doing it from approximately 11 till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. That's Central Time. And I will be sending you more information, as I said, but this came to me in a download that I need to do this and I need to do it now, and that there's people that need it. And so if that's you, if you are someone who knows that there's something in your relationship with money that is probably holding you back or keeping you in some level of a safety or security mindset, or just not letting you live to your fullest, there's something in that you think needs to be shifted. It probably does. And this retreat will help you to see what that is and help you identify the new changes, the new decisions that you need to step into in order to really shift your relationship with money. So more to come on that, but heads up, save the date. If this is something that you might be interested in, get it on your calendar now, and you'll be seeing more coming from me very soon on that. Again, it's April 17th from approximately 11 Central Time to 4 or 5. It'll be 5 or 6 hours. And we're going to go through a lot of content, and we're going to do some amazing visualizations, and you're going to have a real experience with you as you relate to money. Okay, so it's going to be really fun. It'll blow your socks off, and I'm really excited to take you through it. So that's what I wanted to share today. Thank you so much for being here with me. I look forward to being with you next week, and until then, be well. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.